Today's word, inspired by God. They say the Bible was written by 40 men inspired by God. But here's the question, who were those 40 men? For many biblical books, the actual authors are unknown. The names attached to the books are often titles given by tradition. The text says, the Gospel according to John, the Gospel according to Matthew, the Gospel according to Mark, and the Gospel according to Luke. Notice what it says, according to. It does not say, written by John. It does not say, written by Matthew. It does not say, I, John, wrote this book. Let me explain the difference. Written by John is a direct claim of authorship. It identifies the writer. According to John means the account, story, or tradition is being attributed to John. It is not the same thing as the author personally stating that he wrote the text. That distinction matters. People often say, it was written by 40 men inspired by God. Yet many of those men remain unknown, debated, or attributed through tradition rather than direct authorship claims. Nobody knows who wrote many of the books of the Bible with absolute certainty. Even scholars classify several books as anonymous, meaning the identity of the writer is not known. If the author cannot be determined, how can anyone fully verify that the words came from God? People love to say, it's the word of God. But if you cannot first determine who wrote the words, how do you confirm the origin of those words? And then there is the transmission of the text itself. Copyist mistakes. Over 400,000 textual variations have been identified across biblical manuscripts. What does that mean? It means that as the Bible was copied by hand for centuries, scribes introduced differences, misspellings, missing words, added phrases, repeated lines, rearranged sentences, and other changes. When all surviving manuscripts are compared, scholars find hundreds of thousands of differences between them. This does not always mean major doctrine changes, but it does show the text passed through human hands, human memory, and human error. A book can be sacred, a book can be meaningful, a book can inspire millions, but inspiration is a matter of faith. Authorship and transmission are matters of history. The deeper question is this. If you don't know with certainty who wrote the words, and those words have been copied and changed through thousands of variations, how do you determine which version is the original inspired message? It's time for people to think deeper. If the authors are unknown, and even the history itself admits anonymity in parts of the text, yet people still confidently say, this is the word of God, then the real question becomes, how do you know that with certainty if the writers are not even clearly known? If the foundation is unclear, why is the conclusion treated as absolute? Faith begins where certainty ends. Question of the day. Are you trusting the original writer, the tradition passed down, or the belief about the writer that came later?